In the city of Ezin, where tall gates hid louder secrets than the streets outside, lived a woman everyone admired but few truly knew. Her name was Madam Ifunanya Okri. She was rich, not the noisy type of rich that begged for attention, but the quiet kind that made people bow even before she spoke. Her cars lined her compound like obedient soldiers. Her houses stretched from the city to the coast, each one carefully guarded, each one filled with silence. People called her lucky. People called her blessed. But Ifunanya often sat alone at night, staring at the ceiling of her large bedroom, feeling something money had never been able to give her, certainty of love. She had watched how people smiled wider when she shared gifts. How voices softened when she paid bills. How laughter disappeared the moment she said no. One evening, after overhearing her husband joking with friends about what will happen when she's no more, something inside her shifted. That night, she made a decision. She would pretend to be dead. Not for drama. Not for revenge. But for truth. The plan was quiet. Only her lawyer and her personal doctor knew. The announcement was made early in the morning, carried by shocked voices and hurried footsteps. Madam Ifunanya is dead. The compound filled quickly. The first to arrive was her husband, Mr. Okri. He rushed in loudly, shouting her name at the gate, beating his chest like a man struck by lightning. Neighbors gathered. Some women covered their mouths. Men shook their heads in pity. But when he entered the room and saw her body lying still, something strange happened. His crying stopped. For a brief moment, just a breath, a smile crossed his face. Not the smile of relief for a life well lived, but the smile of a man freed. He straightened his clothes, looked around the room, and sighed deeply. So it has finally happened, he whispered. In his mind, calculations had already begun. The cars, the houses, the accounts. And somewhere in his thoughts, another woman appeared, younger, elegant, and conveniently wealthy. He sat beside her body but never touched her hand. He never spoke her name with love. Instead, he began to make phone calls, his voice low and careful. Everything will be fine, he said into the phone. We'll talk later. Ifunanya lay still, listening. Her heart tightened, but she remained silent. Not long after, loud voices echoed from the gate. Her younger brother and elder sister arrived almost at the same time. They rushed in, not looking at her face, but at the room, the furniture, the paintings, the ornaments. This house alone is worth millions, the brother said quickly. The sister hissed. Forget this house. I want the beach properties. She always loved the sea. They stood over her body, arguing like traders fighting over yams. No, the luxury cars should be mine. You already took father's land. Greedy woman. Their voices rose. Accusations flew. Hands pointed. No tears fell. No prayers were said. Ifunanya felt something break inside her chest. Then came her business partners. Men in fine suits. Polished shoes. Smiling eyes. They shook hands with her husband. Sad, very sad, one said, barely hiding his excitement. We'll need to discuss the company shares soon. Another nodded. Yes, yes. The board must meet immediately. They spoke of profits while her body lay cold between them. Still, she did not move. She was waiting. Because the people she feared the most were yet to arrive. The room had grown heavy with voices, plans, and quiet greed. Madam Ifunanya still lay there, unmoving, listening to every word, every careless laugh, every whispered calculation. She had heard enough to know that death, to many people, was not an end, it was an opportunity. Then suddenly, the compound gate creaked. Not rushed footsteps. Not loud voices. Just slow, tired movement. Two old figures appeared at the doorway. Her parents. They did not push anyone aside. They did not ask questions. They did not look around at the crowd. They only looked at the body on the bed. And when they saw her face, everything changed. Her mother let out a sound that did not sound human. It was not a scream. It was not a cry. It was the sound of a heart tearing itself apart. She dropped to the floor. My daughter, my child. Her hands shook as she touched Ifunanya's face, cold and still. She caressed her hair the way she had done when Ifunanya was small, when fever troubled her nights. Her father stood behind her, frozen. This was a man who rarely cried. A man who believed tears were for children and women. But as he looked at the body of his daughter, his knees weakened. Tears rolled down his cheeks freely. He did not speak of money. He did not ask about properties. He did not greet anyone. He only whispered prayers. God, please, not my child. The room fell silent. Even the husband stopped pacing. The siblings stopped arguing. The business partners looked away, uncomfortable. Her mother clutched her hand tightly, rocking back and forth. I should have died before you, she sobbed. You were supposed to bury me, not the other way around. Those words cut deeper than any insult. Inside her still body, Ifunanya felt something rise violently in her chest. Guilt. Pain. Love. Regret. She had wanted to test love. But this was too much. Her father finally spoke, his voice broken. She was kind. Even when she had everything, she never looked down on anyone. God knows her heart. Her mother lifted her head, eyes red and swollen. Who will call me every morning now? Who will send food even when I didn't ask? She pressed her forehead to Ifunanya's chest and wailed. At that moment, the truth became unbearable. Ifunanya realized something painful and clear. Everyone else loved what she had. But these two loved who she was. She could not lie there anymore. Her fingers twitched. Her mother felt it first. She froze. My husband, did you see that? Before anyone could react, Ifunanya's eyes opened. A scream filled the room. People jumped back. Some shouted. Some ran. But Ifunanya ignored them all. She sat up slowly and wrapped her arms tightly around her parents. I'm here, she cried. I'm here. Her mother fainted in her arms. Her father held them both, shaking uncontrollably. And in that moment, the house that had been full of people suddenly felt empty. Confusion swallowed the room. Some people screamed that they had seen a ghost. Others fell to their knees, shouting prayers in panic. A few ran toward the door as if death itself had risen to chase them. Madam Ifunanya held her parents tightly, her tears soaking her mother's wrapper. I'm alive, she kept saying softly. I never left you. Her mother slowly opened her eyes, touching her daughter's face again and again, as if afraid she would disappear. My God, she whispered. You are warm. You are real. Her father said nothing. He only held them both, his lips trembling, his eyes still full of tears. When the shock began to settle, silence returned, but it was no longer peaceful. It was heavy. Madam Ifunanya gently helped her parents sit down, then she stood up and turned to face the room. Everyone avoided her eyes. Her husband stood frozen, his face pale. The smile that had earlier escaped his lips was gone, replaced with fear. His hands shook slightly as he tried to speak. I was just shocked, he stammered. You know how much I love you. Ifunanya looked at him calmly. She did not shout. She did not insult him. That was what frightened him the most. You loved me, she asked quietly. Or you loved what would remain when I was gone. He opened his mouth but no words came out. She turned to her siblings. They stood apart now, suddenly united in silence. My own blood, she said slowly. You did not cry for me. You shared my life like goods on a table. Her brother tried to laugh it off. Oh, sister, we were just confused. She raised her hand. No, she said. Confusion does not divide houses and cars. Her gaze moved to her business partners. They straightened their jackets nervously. You came with smiles, she continued. Not because I lived again, but because you thought I was finally out of your way. No one defended themselves. The truth had no need for arguments. Madam Ifeanyi took a deep breath. I did not pretend to die to shame anyone, she said. I did it because I wanted to know who would cry if I truly left this world. She walked back to her parents and held their hands. These two, she said, her voice breaking, loved me when I had nothing. Before the cars. Before the houses. Before the name. Tears filled her eyes again. You all came for what I own, she said. They came for me. The room was silent. Her husband dropped to his knees. Forgive me, he begged. I was afraid. I didn't know how to react. She looked at him for a long moment. I believe you, she said softly. But belief does not erase truth. She turned away from him. That day, something invisible changed. Relationships cracked. Masks fell. Greed stood naked. Madam Ifeanyi did not chase anyone away. She did not curse anyone. She simply learned. And sometimes, learning hurts more than loss. After that day, nothing returned to how it used to be. The house was still big. The cars still shiny. The money still plenty. But Madam Ifeanyi saw everything differently. Her husband tried harder. He cooked when she did not ask. He spoke gently. He smiled often. But the ease between them was gone. Love that survives only in comfort struggles when truth is exposed. She did not throw him out. She did not fight. She simply became watchful. Her siblings visited less. When they did, their laughter felt forced, their words measured. The bond of blood had been bruised by greed, and though it did not completely break, it never returned to what it once was. Her business partners treated her with sudden respect, careful not to cross lines they never thought existed. Only her parents remained the same. Every morning, her mother called to check if she had eaten. Every evening, her father prayed for her over the phone. No demands. No expectations. Just love. One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Madam Ifeanyi sat between them in their small, modest home, a place far simpler than her own mansion. Her mother rested her head on her shoulder. My daughter, she said softly, wealth is good. But life is better. Her father nodded. And love is rare. Madam Ifeanyi closed her eyes. She thought of the smiles she had seen when people believed she was gone. She thought of the tears that came only when her parents arrived. That night, she made quiet changes. She rewrote her will. She restructured her company. She redirected her generosity. And most importantly, she guarded her heart. She learned that death does not only reveal who loves you. It teaches you who you should live for. From that day on, whenever people praised her riches, she smiled politely. But in her heart, she knew the truth. Spouses may desire your possessions. Siblings may fight over your success. Friends may celebrate your absence. But parents love you, not for what you have, but for who you are. And that lesson stayed with her, long after the day she pretended to die.